The YouTube influence on boxing, Blue Blood Sports TV, Spence versus Crawford fight failure.
You know what boxing is? Well, boxing is a very limited form of fighting. It's kind of a silly agreement.
The sport of boxing is the Wild Wild West.
Bro, it's brand building, and it's absurd amounts of bags.
What you don't understand is your sport is getting swallowed by a greater, more efficient, more spectacular sport.
Ever since 2015 and the Mayweather versus Pacquiao lackluster fight, boxing has been called an old man sport. With very little interest from younger fans and losing heavily in the ratings war with MMA, boxing has struggled to reach a new audience.
You're not supposed to get it for trying hard. You're supposed to get it for winning.
The whole thing is begging to be corrupted.
I'm not saying that I'm going to do it better than anybody else, or I'm smarter than these guys, or I have the way. It's just the system is broken. And none of these guys have been willing to go in and take the pain and do what it takes to fix it. Nobody has tried to fix it.
Not since 2015 have two actual professional boxers set viewing records for the sport. But yet, YouTubers, social media influencers have come in and revolutionized the viewership of the sport. Let's break down why this could be.
In the sport of boxing, this is my guy, and my guy won't fight your guy, and this guy won't fight that guy.
Boxing is like building a city on toxic ground.
Take the 4 top heavyweights right now in the world. If you did fights with all 4 of these guys, there'd be enough fights for 3 years. And they're fights that people would be very interested in watching and exciting. And I bet you they'd be fun fights too. And they're going to generate a shitload of money.
But it's about business.
I think YouTubers are good for boxing.
It's just an opportunity for us.
Well, that is what boxing and the structure of boxing has been built on.
In the eyes of most younger fans, boxing has become an old man sport. Unlike traditional sports, you rarely see your favorite fighter, maybe once or twice a year. On top of that, add in the sanctioning bodies, fighters ducking each other, purse bids, and other antics that come along with the sport of boxing. It should come as no surprise that boxing needed a jump start, to say the least, to survive into the new generation. Enter the Paul brothers and YouTube boxing.
The person that you are, you need competition and that fight. You need it.
The sport of boxing is the Wild Wild West.
I feel it every time you have a mass fucking knockout. Because, like, bro, I'm envious.
No one can deny that Mayweather versus Pacquiao was the most anticipated fight in boxing history, but it was also the highest grossing. There was one other factor that went along with the May-Pac fight. It was also one of the most boring fights in boxing history, turning off many newcomers to the sport as well as the die-hard fans. The lackluster performance of May-Pac and high price tag turned off even the hardcore boxing fans, turning many of them to MMA. Needing a reboot, boxing started to incorporate YouTubers. From the interviewers to the personalities, they all had a hand in recreating the sport.
The whole Mayweather and Logan situation we saw tonight, I wasn't sold on it. It really looked like that whole Drago versus Rocky type situation.
In 2019, Logan Paul took on KSI, setting new sales records for pay-per-view boxing. 1.2 million buys. How could two relative unknown boxers, not even professional, be outselling some of the biggest names within the sport?
I don't got to make up stories. Blue is 10 toes down. I'm the same dude everywhere I go.
How is it that two YouTubers could set boxing records, and not only set boxing records, but be within the top 5 of all-time sales for an event that wasn't even a professional fight? And an even better question would be, why isn't boxing implementing everything these YouTubers are using to sell their events?
Like, Terence is very stubborn, like extremely stubborn. Like, I bet that he's the most stubborn person in the world. So when it comes to this fight, I don't know the business side of it, and I have not talked to Terence, and I have not talked to Errol. I let them guys do what they got to do, but what my feeling is that Terence has said, I need A, B, C, and D, and we can get it on. And one of those alphabets is not being met.
Boxing is like building a city, building a community on toxic ground.
But it's about business.
I do believe if Blue Blood is successful, this will be the first YouTuber promoted professional boxing event. And he could possibly have influence over the Errol Spence versus Terence Crawford fight if he's successful with the Terence Crawford versus David Anees fight. Only time will tell the impact of YouTube influencers over the professional sport of boxing.
Right? Then it was brought back to our attention. They might have hit a snag in negotiations with the Errol Spence fight. Okay, cool. It's just an opportunity for us.
Unlike MMA and YouTube boxing, professional boxing seems to have a problem putting fights together. In YouTube boxing, you might see your favorite fighter twice a year. In boxing, you might not see your favorite fighter for 2 or 3 years in between fights. With the emergence of new media, this has helped keep fans in close contact with their favorite fighters through channels like ES News, Blue Blood Sports TV, and many, many others. But boxing seems to be still 5 steps behind the audience. Something the YouTube boxing community has figured out, leveraging views for sales, is something that the professional boxing world needs to start implementing very soon.
What I appreciate about the sport, UFC, about MMA, is that it's no hiding in my sport. My sport is a chamber of truth. You don't find it out as fast as you do in boxing.
Right.
Dana White did a good job, has done a great job of marketing the sport, growing the sport. They've grown. They have really grown. Part of it is because he's a dictator. No, dictators are, I guess they're useful sometimes, as long as they're not killing people. He's a dictator. He controls all aspects. So he makes competitive fights. You have no choice. Hit the highway, baby, if you don't want to do it. Boxing, no. Boxing, it's the Wild West.
You have to be honest with yourself. The results of what Blue Blood has done will change the sport of boxing. Blue Blood does have influence over the boxing world. To be able to step in and break up what was going to be the biggest fight within the sport, just like that. And not only that, to offer Terence Crawford his biggest payday yet within the sport. And this is a guy who was with what could be arguably the biggest boxing promotion within the sport of boxing, Top Rank. Shows the influence that YouTubers or sports vloggers, casters, influencers have over the sport, and their close relationship with their subscribers gives them abilities that the promoters don't have. The one thing that fans hate about the relationship between boxer and promoter is they always seem to be in between the fan and the boxer. What YouTube does is take the promoter out of the equation, giving you direct access to your favorite fighter or exclusive information about your favorite fighter. And with years and years of research by way of running a successful YouTube channel, I do believe that Blue Blood is a genius for leveraging his power. His subscriber count is just high enough to sell events. If only 10% of people tune in, he will still make a killing. Not only that, having BLK Crime backing you only gives you more power and shows more influence to your audience. Although I am disappointed there won't be an Errol Spence versus Terence Crawford fight, as a boxing channel myself, I definitely do hope to get to the space where I can influence people enough to sell an event. I think that's it for now. Holler at me on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, but you're more than likely to get a response on the tube. So holler at me over there. And we are out of hand.
It's your boy Keys, neighborhood employee. Niggas knew that I was coming with fire. Y'all ain't up to my pie and up under a car. Your head under a tie, it's the S and the I. Player, we supposed to win. I'm in the booth focusing with coke in hand. Dude hate it when you see the chief running in. Ass mouth hurting like his wisdom teeth coming in. Now that's a roundhouse kick. Come round your house, letting rounds out quick. From Newburgh to downtown, it's that Midwest to down south shit. Y'all ain't fucking weed. She chillin', saying tryna put the veal on the mouth. What's good? She nothing, saying tryna show his niggas how to round.